Welcome back to the channel. I'm just Mopar Joe. This is part 2 of my 440 Source stealth head video. You might like this or you might not, but I gotta say special thanks to Andy Wood. He gave me a unique idea. I was doing a little bit of work and I sent him some pictures, and yeah, he kind of inspired me on this, so check this out. Okay, so I want to bring you in here. You can kind of see my ugly bowl. I did actually measure across the throat there and compared it to my valve job, and I think it's like it right at 88%. So I was pretty close, just eyeballing it. That's good enough for me. But if you zoom in, and at the end of the last video I showed you just very briefly, or I discussed it, you'll see a long blue mark there. So I had blued that up with a Sharpie. And Mr. Rick has what you call a new way cutter that has the 3 cutting edges or bits. So I just put it in and put that bottom angle that connected to the other angle. And I stopped when it was concentric in the seat all the way around. And I did intake and exhaust. So technically, I think this has a 4-angle valve job. And I tried to mark each one for you. So you can see the bottom black mark here, right there. That black mark is the one that I cut, and I think that was 72, something like that. Right above it is this red mark, and you see it's shiny, so that was their factory deal. So it connects to that other angle. The green mark is the actual seat right there, and then the black mark on top is just where they, I guess, back cut it or cut it to where it would be the top angle that connects to the seat. So I sent Andy a picture, something like similar to this, and he said, man, you need to knock this edge down right here as much as I can. And just reason being that when flow comes in and out, it's hitting that edge and tumbling in and out. So that's a restriction. And I've seen it in David's videos too. I didn't even think about it. It's also on the exhaust side. So where it steps up here, if all that was blended, he said that would gain you a nice flow increase, and it wouldn't take very long. And I said, well, I don't actually have any extra valves for this, and I wasn't planning on buying any. So he kind of gave me a cheat hack here. Let me show you. So this is the head that I have not touched, step 1. And this is the head that I kind of started on. But I still didn't have any protection of the seats. I basically took some green masking tape and laid on there so I could see if I touched a seat, and I never did touch a seat yet. So far so good, but I've been knocking those steps down some. You can see it's kind of more faint there. And all I was using was just a roll-lock deal that I could get as close as I possibly could in here, and as it spins, it cuts. But see, it's just so very close. So it's kind of a dangerous practice. And, you know, risk versus reward. If I hit a seat, have to start over my valve job. This stuff, I mean, the valves have already been lapped. They're ready to go in. I got some green tape I need to get off there. But here's kind of the life hack that he showed me. If you want to do this at home, like, definitely credit Andy Wood for showing me this. I bought this little kit, and it comes with these kind of abrasives in there. I'm not going to use any of that for what I'm doing today, but what I will use are the actual bits themselves, or holders, arbor, whatever you want to call it. And you can see it's 1/4 inch, so it is far too big for my 11/32 valve, but it drops down just like that and protects that seat. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is chuck it up in a drill or something and thin it out to where it's nice and smooth as it spins. Then that'll allow me to get mine in there. And in order to keep it in place, I'll take my green masking tape, wrap the stem until it's nice and snug in the guide, and that'll give me protection on both sides. Also, I bought some new actual flaps themselves to be able to do this with in different sizes. Like you see this 2-inch here, and that's in 120. I don't even remember what this size was. It was just one of the cheap ones from their kit, but that's almost perfect to what I needed there for diameter. And I bought the larger ones in case I need to trim it down some. These are 80s, so I may try to hit it with the 80 first after they're trimmed, just to knock the steep shoulder off and then blend it with that 120, and boom, they're done. I think, honestly, I could probably do a single head in 20 minutes or so, clean them all up again, and I should be able to assemble these today. Something that I was asked, what did the chambers come out to when we re-CC'd them? And the answer is, I did not have time to re-CC them. So I'm sorry I didn't have that information. But again, I'm going backwards on all this stuff. My heads have already been surfaced, so I can actually put some more masking on just to keep them from getting any more little scuffs like that, which it's away from all the gasket surfaces. And I'm gonna copper coat my gasket anyway, but keep them pretty and nice. I'll probably get them taped back up. But yeah, I want to show you my quick process and kind of what the finished product looks like here. It can be an easy at-home gig for you. They give you two of the actual arbors. And I just laid my valve on top of this one and trimmed it out. So it's kind of ugly around the edges. I need to get it chucked up and smoothed out on the edges. Thin it out, but you can literally make that about any valve size that you want, up to 3-inch. And see, I'm partially there, but this is sticking up too much, so I need to thin it on down and where it'll drop, but still protect the seat. And there's your Redneck way of chamber job here. Okay, so here's that fresh head I have not touched in the chambers at all. And I just wanted to kind of get you at a better angle so you could see that lip. I would guess that's probably 80 thousandths maybe than others. There. So I'm just gonna set up now. I got my other one done. I wanted to start on this one fresh, kind of show you my process. As I've been grinding, I did hit rubber a few times, and it's actually nice for me because it thinned my piece down here. So there's no way I can strike the seat the way that is. And if it gets caught, it'll spin in there, but it won't spin much unless you lay into it. Then it'll keep spinning like a bicycle tire. But pretty much I start on the worst spots, and then I move to my thinner or my less grit, and then just bring it in. So I may actually do this one this way. I had the opposite, the other head turned around, but let me go to work. Okay, so I've started with my bit here, and I just work in and around, just like that. And I'll start to see it kind of go away. Chamber's done. That's all I'm gonna do. There's just a very, very slight step here still. I'll pull this down, you can kind of, we're cooking. Just very slight step left there, but I've got the majority from the center of the valve in, and from there in, that big jumbo step knocked off. So I've just been doing it kind of like an assembly line. I worked the rough on this intake. I moved over, I swapped my deals over, worked the rough on that intake. Now I'm working the rough on this one. I haven't touched that one yet. I have not touched that one yet. And it looks less bad whenever the valve's in it or this goofy rubber. But yeah, so I'm just gonna work into it, knock that off, then I'll swap and do my exhausts, and then I'll come back and pretty up the whole thing with a finer grit. I've got to give it up for the day. I got about an hour and a half in both heads, I think. They're much better. Some of these are better than others, but I went ahead and threw a gasket on so y'all could kind of see they could be unshrouded a little bit more, but I'm not doing this. This is just on a good old street runner here. I'm already picking up a little flow from doing this and that. But I had about an 1/8 inch lip there before, so Most of these are down to where I can barely catch a fingernail on it. And I didn't hurt my valve job. As ugly as you may think it is. Or pretty, whatever. I think it's pretty nice for what it is. I hit that little top spot there between the seats because it was just hanging up. Like it was sticking up a, I don't know, 20 thousandths or something. But I think they'll do a little better than they did, or they would have, coming out of the box. So I finally got them together. These are the springs, retainers, and locks that I had on my E Street heads, but you'll see they're a double spring with a damper. There you go. You can kind of see it in there. So the plan is put these back on my 400 or 406, whatever you want to call it, and get that thing back on the road or into something. So hopefully y'all stay tuned for that. I think I got a pretty decent set of heads here now. There's my little chamber stuff once the valves are in. So lays right, air will blow right on over, go in and out, in and out. So I feel good about it. Just a little more time, but it's one of those deals. Once you get started, you don't want to stop. So I appreciate y'all watching. Did I tell you I got a Christmas shirt? Check them out. Just